And like I was saying in Genesis 13:1, Abram went up to Egypt to Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. And when Abram heard that his relative Lot had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abram divided his men to attack them, and he routed them, pursuing them as far as Hoab, north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions, together with women and other people. Um, so you see, when I speak on Abraham being wealthy, um, he had 318 trained men that were born in his household, uh, that were in his army at his disposal. So he raised this army of 318 men from birth. It says they were born in his household. Um, so he had enough wealth to be able to raise an army, as far as feeding them, training them. He had them at his command. That's not including his family. And like I said, he said he was wealthy in silver and gold. And as we spoke and we've seen, he also had slaves, which were also part of livestock. Um, and then in Genesis 17, for the generations to come, every male among you who is 8 days old must be circumcised, including those born in your household or bought with money from a foreigner, those who are not offspring, wherein born in your household or bought with your money, they must be circumcised. My covenant in your flesh is to be everlasting covenant. That's the covenant that God had with Abraham, just saying anybody that is in his household must be circumcised, and that will be including anything that people that he got in spoils of war, which would be including slaves, all of the men that were in his army, anyone born foreign or of the name. And the Lord bless my master abundantly, and he has become wealthy. He has given me sheep and cattle, silver and gold, male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. Um, so again, Abraham was a wealthy man. These are stories of the elite of the time, which we would consider maybe like the Donald Trumps and Joe Bidens of the time. And just as and I give all that to give a perspective, because I don't want you thinking these were just ordinary people like you and I who you know um these were people of great stature and wealth. Like I said, they owned slaves at the time. You and I probably would have been the slave. But in Genesis 21, after Isaac is born to Sarah and Abraham, Sarah sees Hagar and Ishmael mocking Isaac and tells Abraham to drive them away. um, Isaac is the son, between Sarah and Abraham, that she had after Ishmael was born to Hagar, the slave. Um, Abraham to drive them out. Abraham is reluctant to do so, but God tells him to listen to Sarah, saying, "Do not be so distressed about the boy and the slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned." Abraham sends Hagar and Ishmael away with some food and some water, and they wander in the desert until God intervenes and provides for them. In Genesis 26, Isaac and his wife Rebekah go to Gerar, and Isaac tells the king Abimelech, possibly the same Abimelech as in Genesis 20, and Rebekah is his sister, basically mirroring the same exact sister that Abraham did with Sarah. When Abimelech discovers the truth, he rebukes Isaac and gives order to his people not to harm him or Rebekah. In return, Isaac grows rich and acquires many possessions, including flocks, herds, and a great household of slaves. Um, again, I give this perspective so that you can see the people in the Bible and the intention behind them adding the slavery in, because like I said, we all know that slavery was a very common practice at the time. Um, so, A lot of these stories, people always say, pastors and things say, well, at the time, that was just the way things were. But in Romans 12:2, it clearly says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. So, again, we are not to conform to the pattern of the world. And slavery is clearly a pattern of the world that we now do not conform to. We all know that it is morally wrong. And in First John chapter 2, verses 15 through 17, we also have, do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, for the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, comes not from the Father, but from the world. The world and its desires pass away, but whoever does the will of God lives forever. Um, just more verses letting you know that regardless of whatever is going on in the world at the time, you should not adhere to it. Again, like I said, these are stories of probably people we would consider Illuminati, which is funny to say, because they are the 1%, the wealthy people. He was in control of an army, just like Barack Obama, Joe Biden are in control of the American military. Same thing. But like I said, that's the story of Abraham. And as we moving on, uh, in Genesis 37 through 50, um, which is and then you want to add in the story of Hagar, the sex scandal with his firstborn son Ishmael, and like I said, that's basically Donald Trump in a nutshell. But again, like I said, these are ancient stories that we look at these people as the biblical patriots and things like that. Um, and just to read another excerpt. This is from Genesis 21. This is the account of Sarah. Um, and it goes, and Sarah said, Elohim has made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And Sarah said, who would have said unto Abram that Sarah should be given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. A child grew and was weaned, and Abram gave a great feast the day that Yitzhak was weaned. And that's actually Isaac. Like I said, this is the original Hebrew name, uh, Yitzhak. And Sarah saw her son Hagar, the mistress which she had borne unto Abram, mocking. Wherefore she unto Abram cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be the heir of my son, even with Ishak. And the thing was very grievous in Abram's sight because of his son. And Elohim said to Abram, let it not be grievous in your sight because of the lad and because of your bondwoman. And all that Sarah has said unto you, hearken unto her voice, for it is Yitzhak shall your seed be called, and also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is your seed. And Abram arose early in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. Um, so basically, he put his baby mama out in the wilderness. To fend for herself and said God got her. Um, again, it sounds just like a common practice that goes amongst people nowadays. You know, like I said, this is a wealthy man who owned slaves, forced his wife's maiden, handmaid servant slave to have his firstborn child. Um, After that, he allowed Sarah, his wife, to mistreat her. Um, and just like I said, that all falls under the lines of chattel slavery, mistreatment, inhumane treatment of a person, treated as property. Let me read that. Chattel slavery. This form of slavery is characterized by the complete ownership of a person's property who is treated as an object to be bought, sold, or inherited like any other form of property. Chattel slaves have no legal rights and are often subjected to violence and inhumane treatment, just like that, how Hagar was treated. Um, and just like I said, even in the story, Elohim says to him, do not let it not be grievous in your sight. Um, Grievous meaning very severe or serious. So he said, don't even let it be serious to you. This is only a boy and your slave woman. Um, you know, the heir is Isaac through Sarah, in which, that's why she was put out. Um, which to me, speaks volumes about how people were treated back then. Even the Lord himself, he didn't even address Hagar as Hagar. He addressed her as the slave woman. And and like I was saying, even the fact that uh, Sarah said, your heir, uh, the heir is through her. Nothing will come of your heir through the bondwoman. What is that saying? The descendants of slaves, nothing will come of them. Only the true heir is the heir of her, who was the free woman. I mean, what is all this stuff saying to us psychologically? I mean, and now you can kind of see why they could take the Bible and create the slave Bible. Um, I know I didn't speak about the slave Bible, but the slave Bible was a Bible that was created, um, you know, not from creating new scripture, but what they actually did was just take excerpts out of the Bible, remove some of the stuff that didn't contain slavery or uh, spoke kind of against slavery. Is not too much in there that they had to take out. And this is all King James. They didn't alter any of the words. And they basically preached this stuff to the Africans that were enslaved to try to Christianize them and get them to go along and get along. And just like I tried to explain to you, the same laws that the Israelites had, uh, all of the laws that um, are in the Bible are basically the same laws that are aligned with Jim Crow, all of the laws that condone slavery in America. Um, but, this is what we are getting to. Um, and I just wanted to bring them points up about Abraham in the Bible. Uh, One of the points that I always say, I really don't even see anything that he has done good. And even after this story, in the next story, which talks about uh, him sacrificing his son Isaac, um, which to me, is just another tale of, the Lord asking to see how faithful he is. But the Lord asked him to commit murder on his son, um, which at the time, the Hammurabi Code which is the oldest code and law system, which was the code and law system of all of the area of the Fertile Crescent along the Euphrates River, um, which, like I said, that goes back to probably 1500 to 1700 years before the Abraham story. I know a lot of people don't like to admit that we have codes and law systems that were set up before the Ten Commandments, that were probably uh, where the Ten Commandments came from. A lot of the same laws and code of Hammurabi and 42 laws of Ma'at are in the Ten Commandments. And, just like a lot of people, forget is that the entire Torah is the law. Which is Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Not just the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments are, 10 of the most important, but the law is all throughout Exodus and Leviticus. And just to get a little bit more in depth about the code, the Hammurabi Code. The Hammurabi Code refers to a set of laws enacted by the ancient Babylonian king Hammurabi in the 18th century BCE. The code consists of 282 laws that were inscribed on a stele or stone pillar and displayed in the public place in the city of Babylon. Babylon is the ancient civilization that existed right before the Egyptian civilization uh, came along. And Babylon, you get the Babel. They worship Baal. It all goes with the name. The Hammurabi Code is one of the oldest known written legal code, and it covers a wide range of topics, including family law, property law, business and commercial law, criminal law, and more. The laws are written in Cuneiform form script and are organized into 44 columns, with each column containing multiple laws. As you see the script there, this is probably roughly um, 500 years before the Ten Commandments. Um, you see the script that they use. It's a paleo script, before actual writing came along. Um, the same thing with the Ten Commandments would have been written something similar to this. Um, you know, the law in the Ten Commandments, as we have it written today, um, that the people interpreted it out of this type of script, Paleo Hebrew. Um, and this is right along that same area. Uh, I kind of brought a map up, and it shows Babylon at the bottom. Then it kind of shows Egypt kind of down there in the bottom corner. And it shows the Tigris and Euphrates River, kind of where this code is. The stele was set up in that area. Uh, And like I said, back in that ancient times, the only people that would have been able to read these things would have been the rich people of that time. And like I was said, Abraham had control of an army of over 318 men, so he would have been well aware of the code of Hammurabi. And like I said, they did not have laws strictly forbidden murder, but the thing is they the crime fit the punishment. So if you murdered someone, most likely they would have punished you. So if he would have followed through and did what the Lord said and showed his faith for the Lord and sacrificed Isaac, he probably would have been put to death. When the centurion showed up and the corpse of his dead son is laying there on an altar, and the only excuse he has is I was showing my faith to the Lord. You know, he probably would have been tried in court. And just like I said, this is an ancient time, but it's not so ancient as into which they didn't have laws set up. Um, you know, Murdering and killing children is something that they strictly had codes and laws set up in the Hammurabi Code and in that area at the time when this happened.